Hi folks, how do you get a gig? Now I always talk about don't start teaching when you've never had a gig before, but how do you get a gig? Okay, now when I was back in school, there were guys that would come in to do a clinic, and many famous guys, and some people said there was two types of questions for these guys. And one was the educational thing, how do you do this, how do you do that? And the other one was, how do you get a gig? You called them the how do you get a gig guys, right? So it was quite funny because I was one of those guys. I was very curious about how these guys made a living, right? So one of the questions I would ask naively at the time, and very naively, I'll tell you why in a second, was, hey, so-and-so, how do you get a gig? And you know what their answer was? I don't know. I don't know. Isn't that funny? You know why? Because now I know why. Because they don't want you getting their gigs. They don't want you clouding the market. You know, they want you to take the lessons and quit when you hit 30, right? It's too hard or whatever the hell, and you're 30 years old, might as well get a regular job and, you know, leave the drumming to us, right? That's what the attitude was many, many times. There were a few guys that were helpful in that way, but very few and far between. Most of the time, it was like, oh, I don't know. Or they'd give the standard answer, oh, you have to schmooze and you have to go to cocktail parties and you have to do whatever, right? But not really any nitty gritty. So we're just going to analyze how to go about this these days. Back in my day, get off my lawn, a long time ago, there was this service called Musicians Contact Service where you would pay and you would take your demos, a cassette demo, and when you put it in a book, there was these stacks and stacks of, it looked like a library of musicians, right? And people looking for musicians would go to this office and go through all the books and listen to the cassette tapes and stuff like that. A gargantuan waste of time for the most part, but it was popular to do at the time. Another way was through Craigslist, believe it or not. Craigslist, for those of you who aren't in the United States, is like in a newspaper. You put ad in a newspaper, right? Or you go through ads, somebody looking for a drummer, and you try to get in their band or audition for the gig, whatever. So another way to do it was to go to a school, like a college or a university, and be recommended through the university, right? A lot of times artists would go to a big music university looking for suckers. I mean, players. Why do I say that? Because a lot of times they would go there and looking for guys young guys, not having any experience, and pay them nothing and take them on the road and then use them up and spit them out, which still happens today. If you play with any popular, whatever, I don't even want to call them artists, it's like dancers and DJ, I don't know what they are, really. They're like entertainers. There's all kinds of things like getting paid like from $600 to $1,000 a week, which is just ridiculous to be on the road. And most of the time you're on the bus and you don't even see the person you're working for or the company you're working for until the gig comes. And when the gig comes, they're in front of you on the stage and they don't even talk to you. They just leave and you're, there and you do your thing and you get back on the bus when they go on a plane, right? That's not a gig. That's basically whatever. And most of the time you're not even playing. It's just playback. You're just pretending to play, right? So that, unfortunately, that is not a gig, but people are fighting over that. How do you get those gigs? You know, you go to a college, or you become trendy in the college, or people talk about you, you know, and then the next thing you know, you're playing with her, whoever that is. Uh, in the past, it used to be that your reputation got you a lot of gigs. And how do you form that reputation? You would have a teacher. You would have like a, you know, one of your teachers, and preferably somebody established in the industry that really took you under their wing, you know, which doesn't exist anymore. When you taken under someone's wing, you become sort of like a disciple of them, and the gigs that that particular teacher can't do, they would refer you to the gig, and then you start building your reputation and your resume that way, right? Which actually happens in India to this day. It's very common to be a disciple of a master teacher, and he has many disciples, and there's a whole lineage thing, and it's very deep. It's a fantastic system, actually. If you study with so-and-so, then you are a disciple of so-and-so who was the disciple of so-and-so and so, and they have this incredible lineage, and so you are part of that lineage, and you become like, you know, an institution unto yourself because of that lineage. So that doesn't happen. In the West, we would call that being taken under someone's wing, right? The other way that it used to be done, I have friends that did this, is that they would have their cassette tape, right? Back in the day, it was all cassettes. And you would send them to artists. I have a friend of mine who sent cassettes to Chick Corea all the time. Send them cassettes. We don't know if Chick ever even listened to them. Probably not, right? There's other drummers that sent tapes to other famous drummers. And of course, having been friends with some of them, I can guarantee you they would just toss them in the trash, right? Never listening. So that was a very ineffective method, a gigantic waste of time. Another way was that if you were friends with drummers, right? When you became good friends with drummers, they would, you know, kind of switch gigs around. You toss you a gig here, you toss them a gig there, recommend here, recommend there, all kind of word of mouth. So that's like word of mouth kind of system, which is, you know, which worked for a long time. It worked for a long time, but it's kind of limited in scope. You know, it's limited. So how did things get to the way they are today? And what do I recommend that you do? Of course, I'm going to recommend making a YouTube channel. Now, it doesn't matter that nobody watches your channel. What matters is that you put up performances. You put up performances, you put up yourself talking so people can get to know you. If there's any gig, you know, in the works and circulating around, and they want to know who you are, you have everything there. Every type of performance, every style you can play, you have you talking about music, about your passion, about whatever you do. And it doesn't matter that nobody watches it. It's the right people that are going to watch it. That's who counts, right? And for God's sake, don't teach anything, okay? Don't teach. If you have no experience, even being on the road, don't show any instructional material. You're just going to get eaten alive, okay? Now, another thing is, don't post any bad performances. Always make the performances the best you can possibly make them. It doesn't matter if it took you 5 tries to get it right. You know, in the studio many times these days, that's what happens. You do 5 takes, you know, it's very rare that a guy can do 1 take of something and have it fantastic. It's rare. It exists, but it's rare. So don't feel bad if you got to do it 5 times, 10 times. In that process, every time you do it, you get better. So anyway, it's a very productive thing to do. Put up performances on your YouTube channel. If you want, you can branch off to Instagram or whatever. I have a friend who did tons of stuff on Instagram, and now he's playing with some of the biggest artists in the world. Okay? So these things have become the new university, the new demo tape, the new word of mouth system, and the new, let's say, teacher disciple system to a certain point, right? Because YouTube is not going to allow you to have access to the information on where the gigs are. It just puts you out there and prepares you for when the gigs might come through, okay? But, you know, YouTube is like your demo tape now. It's like your calling card. That's the way it is. That's the way it is these days. So that would be my advice on how to get a gig up to a certain point. Now, the next thing is that you have to get out there and you have to meet people, right? You have to meet people. Unfortunately, we are all salesmen to a certain degree when it comes to our careers. We've got to sell ourselves. We've got to make people believe in us. And you do that through friendship. Don't do it through schmoozing and being a frickin' schmoozer. Those guys are gross and nobody likes them. You have to be gentle. You have to not be pushy. You have to just be friendly, be yourself, you know, and hopefully you're going to click with some people, and that's how you would get the gigs. Now, for more advanced players, I reached a level where I just got tired of working for other people. Artistically, I was not happy working for other people. I was not happy waiting for the phone to ring or for, depending on whoever, to spread my name around. That to me is nowheresville now. So if you've been around a while, you've done your own thing for a long time, the thing to do is to do your own projects, which I have a ton of my own projects. There's an actor, a very famous actor, who I think his name, oh my God, now I'm blanking out on his name. Anyway, very famous actor, and he used to say, I don't audition. If people want to see my work, they can watch this movie, that movie, from the year 1950 till now. I've done TV series, I'm not going to audition. So that stuck in my mind. And then I started doing the same thing. You know what? I'm not auditioning. You want to have me? You can listen to my whole discography. You can listen to everything I've done. There's a ton of material on YouTube. This channel, by the way, is 20 years old. So I've been around a long time on YouTube before most people. So if somebody calls me, you know, you want to audition for this? I'm not auditioning, bro. Sorry. You have to have your own projects when you reach a level that you've been around for a long time. You've done a lot of stuff. That's the thing to do, is to become the producer yourself, which is the natural flow of things. Honestly, there's many drummers that went from being a touring drummer, gigging drummer, to producer, right? And they still tour, they still play live, but they're doing a lot of production as well. And that's what I do. You know, I don't wait around for people to call me. I do a lot of my own productions. I produce things for other people. And of course, drumming is at the forefront of everything in that arena. My drumming is what gets me all those other gigs. Okay, so I hope this was useful and brings you into a place where you can start, you know, developing a strategy for how you're going to get some gigs. You don't get gigs through teaching. Let me say that again. You don't get gigs from teaching. What that does is gets you students, and if you suck, students are going to talk bad about you and ruin your reputation because you didn't show them the correct thing. And not only that, it's totally immoral to show people something that you don't really know what you're talking about, right? So that would be the main reason not to do it. It's immoral. Well, so many people do it. On YouTube every day, I see all these kooky dudes, you know, this is a songo. They have never even, in their wildest dreams, approached or seen any kind of Afro-Cuban group live in their life. right? Let alone knowing the pattern or the drummer that actually came up with that stuff. So it's, you know, it's quite amazing. It's so immoral. So don't do that. Start a YouTube channel, okay? That's your first step, my friends. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you want to study with me, the lesson site's waiting for you. Only $250 gets you into the full year program. $500 gets you into the lifetime membership. $1,900, the elite program. 7 days, 3 hours a day with me online. A lot of guys are taking the elite program. Serious guys, that's what that means. Elite means serious drummer. It doesn't mean like a guy that can play a million notes, elite, like that. It means elite disciples of drumming. Okay, we have online evaluations. You send me a video, I tell you what you need to get to the next level in your playing. We have hand consultations, video conference with me for 1 hour, where I take a look at your hands and we work together and see how we can get your hand technique to the next level, what you need to do and all that stuff. All right, my friends, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and remember, get the gig, baby. Peace.